grew up in Brooklyn, New York. She got her BA from Merrimack College in Massachusetts. She received her master's degree from Brooklyn College. She went on to get her PhD at the University of Southern California, and she also received her law degree. Lynne specializes in civil rights, environmental protection, and defending the common people. She wants to state cut the bureaucracy in Maine government, and she hopes to bring positive change to Maine. And also, her birthday was yesterday, so we can all wish her a happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you. I followed Peter Mills a couple of times, and it always makes me nervous. I love Peter, but it always makes me nervous that I tend to agree with Peter on more issues than any other candidate in this race. And he's a Republican. And what this shows, I think, is the perception of my party, the Maine Green-Independent Party, is in many ways a misperception. So I want to sort of clear up a few of those things and talk about a few other things. And some of the things Peter brought up, I agree with. Feel free to ask me questions about them, but I will point out the things I disagree with, because there seemed to be interest here in the topics he spoke about. The Maine Green-Independent Party was founded 25 years ago in Maine, in Augusta, Maine, 25 years ago last month. And we were the first party in the United States. Certainly Europe had green parties, successful green parties, and they're still successful as part of certain coalition governments. Maine, the United States, though, doesn't have parliamentary government, and it's very difficult for a third party to assume power in our Congress and even in our state legislatures, like they have done in Europe. So the party was founded, and it is true in the beginning, the emphasis of the Green Party in our state and then subsequent states had been on environmental issues. And we, of course, still continue to have a very strong environmentalist threat. But the fact of the matter is, there are other issues we're concerned about. We're not just environmentalists. That is certainly not the only issue that's important to us. In terms of broad political philosophy, decentralization and localization is key to what we believe. I worked very hard, and this is something I disagree with Peter on, I worked very hard against the school consolidation law. I lobbied against it, I spoke out against it, I talked to editorial boards, I then helped with the petition drive to try to repeal the school consolidation law, not because we don't need consolidation, but because of the forced nature of it. I live on Mount Desert Island, I live in Bar Harbor. We consolidated decades ago. We have 4 towns and 3 islands. We have 5 elementary schools and 1 high school and 1 superintendent. We chose to put that together and do it that way. And now, my neighbor in Trenton and our neighbor in Lemoyne is being pressured to consolidate with us. And it is going to cost them a lot of money. They are not necessarily poor towns, but again, their pay scale for their teachers is significantly less than the pay scale on Mount Desert Island. And so their choice is to either be penalized by the government or to consolidate with us and raise property taxes predicted in Trenton by $500,000 additional a year. I think there were voluntary incentives that could have been used to encourage administrative consolidation, buying, purchasing, transportation, special ed, everything that Peter mentioned there. And I think it was a very mean-spirited law to penalize our communities. It just doesn't sit well with me. And so for many reasons, I oppose that and continue to oppose that, although there are efforts I know now in the legislature to make some changes. One of those is, rather than looking at an individual school district and saying you must consolidate with 1, 2, or 3 other school districts, there's a push now to change that and have and look not at the school district, but how many towns and municipalities and or plantations a given district represents. So there's a superintendent up in Washington County. His school district represents 11 municipalities. So there's no reason really to say, well, just because those are small towns, you really must consolidate, because here's a man who is not only the superintendent and of a district that encompasses 11 towns, he's also the football coach. I mean, these guys, I think superintendent's got a bad rap in this whole thing. So to get back to where I started on that track, the Green Party is very, very focused on how we can improve our state through decentralizing and localizing things. For example, I am involved, I'm an attorney, as was stated. I represent a lot of small businesses. And I'm in a tourist town, it's a seasonal town. Our businesses struggle throughout the year, and they do fabulously, usually in the summer, but then throughout the year it is a struggle. I think we can do a lot more for our small and medium-sized businesses in this state. They're the backbone of our economy. We're not going to have big multinational corporations coming in and building big mills and factories anymore. It's just not going to happen. I really like Peter's fund of funds. We've talked about that. I think the idea of having venture capital available for our businesses in the state or businesses that want to come to our state is great. Because the challenge, the major challenge for small and medium-sized businesses is capital. It's less customers and more capital. The customers are out there for a good product or a good service. But unless these businesses have the capital to expand, to purchase inventory, and to hire people, all upfront costs, they typically cannot serve the customers that they theoretically could have. So I think we need to provide that financial support for them. I think we also, as a state, need to identify what businesses fit into our state. For example, I represent a few small farms. I represent a farm in Union that produces lamb. And he can sell the meat at the farmer's market. He can sell it to an individual customer, and he can sell it to a restaurant. But he cannot sell it to Hannaford or Shaw's or any of the chains, because the meat has to be slaughtered in a licensed slaughterhouse, and the closest one is Pennsylvania. So, why not? I met some guy one night in a bar who said, I just sold my investment business for $300,000, and I'm thinking of investing in Maine. And I said, do you want to do a slaughterhouse or a shellfish processing plant? And he said, do you work for the government? And I said, no, but there are things in the state that we need and that the people in these industries tell us we need. We need a slaughterhouse. We now have Maine's own organic dairy here in the state. 8 organic milk producers were cut off at the knees by Hood, who is a big Texas-based company, and Hood doesn't want to do organic milk anymore here. And they formed a cooperative. And they are, they've contracts, they're going to be on the shelf. They got together, they formed a legal entity, and they're going forward. And they're controlling their product, and they're controlling their business destiny in a way. We ship much of our shellfish, and this is very close to my heart, living in Mount Desert, to Canada to be processed, because we don't have a shellfish processing plant in my region. So I think we look at these things, and we then find people who are interested in doing these businesses, and then we help provide the financial support and the streamlining of the regulations for them to be able to set up these businesses.